Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Tony Talks, where I have conversations with inspirational leaders, influencers, and change makers, people that aren't just doing well in life, but that are doing good in the world. And this is an interactive conversation, not with myself and my guest, but also with you. We're streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube, and you can certainly ask your questions, make your comments, and we will address as many as we can along the way. So today I am proud to announce that my great friend Chuck Hogan is coming back. It's his second or third appearance, actually third appearance on Tony Talks from the very beginning. He was actually my very first guest, so I'm excited to have him on. He is a fellow and brother trainer in the Tony Robbins family, and he is a high-performance life and business strategist. He is a co-founder and partner of mine in YBL, Your Best Life Strategists. He's a mentor, he's a coach, and he's a great friend to so many. Here he is, the one and only Chuck Hogan. What's up, brother?
Hey, how are you, man? Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. Great to see you.
Likewise.
You know, how's everything over in Texas?
You know, it's sunny and bright out, and it's kind of interesting. We live in some very interesting times right now. They just decided that even non-essential businesses are going to be opening up, I believe, in about a little over a week. And so it's been interesting to see people's responses and the level of uncertainty, the level of novelty in mask or no mask, gloves, no gloves, full body condom or no full body condom. You get to choose. So
listen, yeah. People have been just so cooped up, and and they're just dying to get out. I mean, today is Cinco de Mayo, and so I mean, by the way, happy Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, you know what? And God bless you, Tony, because seriously, it's right now. It's one of those things where culturally there's a lot of aggravation and frustration right now. I mean, we're Americans, and Americans, we pride ourselves on freedom, the home of the brave. And arguably right now, one of the biggest challenges people are having is what is their own internal social responsibility, and they go, well, what do you mean by that, Chuck? Internal social responsibility? I said, yeah, think about it for a second. It all starts with you first, no different when they say about, hey, who are you going to put the oxygen mask on first? The people sitting next to you, or are you going to put it on yourself first so that way you can actually help others? And right now, arguably, there's a lot of, I'll say, social understanding that needs to occur and awareness. So yeah, so things are great here. It's already starting to get warm. We were in the low 90s today, so yeah, it's starting to pick up.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, we have Deborah says absolutely internal and social responsibility. Yeah, things are opening up. Weather's changing. People are out. I was actually speaking to a friend today that was telling me how she drove by a park this Saturday when they finally opened up the public parks, and they said there were people everywhere having barbecues, picnics, like there was nothing going on. And she freaked out. I said, look, there's no reason to freak out. It's just, unfortunately, not everybody's going to adhere to the same things, which is unfortunately why we had to have that countrywide shutdown, worldwide shutdown, because you can't. This is politically incorrect what I'm going to say. Actually, I probably shouldn't say it then.
It's a decision.
Listen, they say you can't fix stupid. Apparently, you can't quarantine it either, right? And that's kind of what happens. Is there's be bold, says Meredith. Yeah, well, I couldn't help it. But the reality of it is, there's a lot of people that are unfortunately still too self-centered. They don't understand that the risk of going out, it's not the impact. It was actually Governor Cuomo who's really stepped up a lot in my eyes. He went up the ladder a couple of notches. He was the one that was talking about, listen, it's not just about you. If it was just about you, it's about you. But it's not just about you. It's the people who you affect, or unfortunately infect, right? Because you may not get sick. You might not even have any of the symptoms, but you might be passing it to grandma, congratulations. That might have been the last time you saw her, or your neighbor that you love, or you shake hands, or you touch something that then somebody else goes and touches and goes home and touch something else. So it's really about that personal responsibility. And unfortunately, some people have a problem policing themselves, right? So that's why this mandatory quarantine went into place, or voluntary or mandatory. I'm not even sure which one it was anymore. That's why it was in place during this situation, is because people, listen, if I know there's one good thing that's coming out of this, there's going to be a lot more people with clean hands.
Oh, I mean, what do they say? If you can do anything for 30 days straight, it becomes a habit. And so it's conditioned. So that's a beautiful thing. Hygiene is an important part of the process. Fermentation is not. So we want to make sure that people are taking care of themselves, but arguably too, during this staycation, it's forced a lot of people to have some introspection, Tony, that I really believe that they have been working so busy and so feverishly that for a lot of folks, they forgot what it was like to actually be able to evaluate where they're at. And the ultimate evaluation, when we're talking about COVID-19 or any kind of, I'll just say, socio-economic development, because this has actually gone way beyond just social distancing. This has had mammoth, of course, economic repercussions. And to that point, if you really want to go outside and you want to ultimately responsible, go get tested. I mean, that's bottom line. Be resourceful. And so that way you're not doing a disservice to yourself or anyone else. Because again, if it's going to start, change starts with who? You. It
starts, again, impact starts with you first. You want to make an impact, you start at home first. And then from here, you move out. First, then you go to your neighbor, then you go to your block, then you go to your ward or your sector or that part of your community. Then you go to your town, then you go to your county, then you go to your state, and then maybe you just go up all at once, right? But nothing, so in the same way that you can make a positive impact, it's actually easier to make a negative impact than it is to make a positive one. So you got to be more intentional, right?
And our too is socioeconomic too, right? So right now, I believe the going rate for a test in our area was like $200, and or you have to prove that you're disenfranchised and that you can't afford to have a test. And I was like going, okay, well, so if you're a family of 5, you're gonna put out $1,000 to be tested. And they go, well, if you can afford it. And I was like, well, what if you can't? What if you're, and God forbid, I don't wish this on anyone, but I'm not saying you're disenfranchised, but if you've been working 3 jobs and now 2 of your jobs have gone away and you're working part-time, and so you're still considered employed and not unemployed, that really does have a diametric shift in relation to what your capabilities and capacity is. So it's really foreboding. I mean, I'm grateful that I still have multiple streams of income, which is great. And there's a challenge because it's arguably not what it was. But on top of that too, I go, where do you even go to get a test if you don't qualify? I'll put it a step further. I know people that are healthcare workers, and they're not mandatorily testing healthcare workers, but every patient who comes in the hospital is mandatorily tested. And I'm like going, wait, what? A body's a body. If it's a caregiver or a care recipient, it's still a body. And if you are asymptomatic and you don't know that you're carrying this stuff, I was like going, okay, wait, what the what?
Well, listen, here's where things get a little funky. The reason that's happening is they can't afford to keep any nurses home. And I know that's sad, and that's a rough thing to say, but they almost don't want to know. And that's not really the right way and how it should be done. But that's the reality. Again, my nurse is a wife. My nurse is a wife. My wife is
as well.
My wife is a nurse, and so she's dealing with this every day. And they're not checking; they're just checking temperatures, which is the least of it. Man, my face is. I'm just realizing my face is still swollen from the bee sting I got yesterday. I feel like I'm like lopsided.
You look great.
Oh yeah, great.
Oh, full cheek.
Yeah, a very full cheeks. At least this wrinkle I have here kind of went away, filled in. I'm putting weight on just half my body.
You're listening to the right. So
Oh, that's why if you see me dragging this way, it's just, the extra weight. But yeah, look, it's like they don't want to know. They'd rather not know and not lose the extra set of hands, which is, again, anyway, listen, that's a topic. This is a topic that we've already beat up pretty good. Let's talk about something positive. Let's talk about what it is when we come out of this. Let's talk about what life is going to be like in 14 days, in 30 days, in 45 days, in 60 days. That's what we need to start looking forward to having that optimism, to having that outlook, to having that forward momentum, to having that to future pace it and imagine ourselves doing what it is that we want to do.
Definitely.
So,
well, I mean, arguably, I would say appreciation is going to be foremost and first of all. There are so many people who've been cooped up and they're just jonesing to be able to have some life experiences, to be able to go to the park without feeling restricted or more so than that, just to be able to have interaction outside of their own home. Arguably, I'm blessed. I have 3 beautiful, I can't call them children anymore. They're teenagers and young adults, but and my amazing wife. Thank goodness they're tolerable of me. I mean, because I can be a handful. There's a lot of things and stuff to get done during the course of a day. And on top of that, there's a lot of, we can be distracted. As you and I were talking previously on some business things as well, I've never been so busy in my entire life. Now, do I feel like I'm being productive? In some areas, absolutely. In other areas, holy smokes, it's more busy work than ever before.
Listen, I'm gonna give you a reframe that Justin White, our other brother,
Yep.
Gave me a reframe on that. Busy. He says, I'm not busy. I'm just blessed with opportunity.
Yep, absolutely.
Because busy, you're right. A lot of those times, it feels like it's busy work because you're it's like you're running on a treadmill. You're running, man. You're huffing and puffing, but you're not going anywhere.
True.
Right. So that happens. But sometimes you have to do that just to create momentum, right? Just to get that motor, the motor running. You need to do that anyway. So most of the time it's not
right. It's part of the conditioning. It's part of building that muscle. If you want the muscle, you've got to lift some weight. And it's also done with repetition as well. So we condition it. What's been great right now is in slowing down, it's given actually a new frame where, much like Justin or even yourself would say, that the opportunities are endless, but it's all dependent on where you place your focus. Where focus goes, energy flows. And so for some, they are focusing right now on survival. That 10 million-year-old brain is kicking in and it's like going fight or flight, baby. And I've got to come up with solutions now so that way I can shore up, my resources. And I was like thinking about that going, okay, I get that. I mean, we all have responsibilities. That's part of our adult lives. And I go, how do kids look at this right now? How do they look at it? Because I have one getting ready to finish his freshman year in college. I have another one who's a sophomore in high school and another one that's in middle school. And arguably they're doing all their studies online. And it's been great in some ways because they're working at their pace and they're all thriving. They love the technological, age, so to speak. And yet they miss the sociological aspect of it. So they're spending a lot of time online with friends and, games, playing games online like Minecraft and things. And I go, I don't have an issue with it at all. And why? Because they're connecting. One of them got real resourceful and she goes, hey, Dad, I'm going on a bike ride with Elizabeth today. I'm like, that's awesome. So they stay socially distanced. They're riding their bikes. They get to have communication. They're out and about. They're moving. And it's like, wow, that's really cool. So what I'm finding too is that instead of just defaulting to the video games, they're actually exercising some resourcefulness. It's like, cool. Cole's gone to the soccer field. It's just he and a buddy. It's just the two of them. And they both have their own balls, but they can pass back and forth with their feet. They're not touching it with their hands. It's like going, you know what? There you go. And so there's a way of still connecting to folks that we can do it in a different way. You and I have a very good friend, and this is post this whole thing, but I'm going to recommend that we all start doing this regardless. And that is, if you find yourself having a little bit of time, go ahead and search your heart for any relationships or people that you may have had a kerfuffle, a squabble, a disagreement, a misunderstanding, and reach out and clear the air, not just for you, but for them as well. Because in that space, acknowledging it in the moment, and if you're leaving stuff in the world of the unsaid, as our mentor Tad Shanky would say, then you're carrying weight. You're carrying extra luggage that you don't really need to have.
Yeah, so true. So true. And you never know, one of the things I've been saying is that, tomorrow isn't promised, right? There's just today. And, there's unfortunately, we've lost a number of people in the last 2 months specifically that maybe wouldn't have been lost. It's hit me already kind of close to home, a couple of times. And the reality of it is that tomorrow isn't promised. So why not make amends? Why not settle old grievances? Why not forgive? And even if you can't bring yourself up to making that phone call, maybe send a text message, send an email.
Or
in your own mind. Sorry?
Yeah. Even snail mail, write a letter. I mean, actually, it has been so gratifying to see, like, just out of the blue, the kids have been receiving letters and notes from friends. And they're like going, because they want to get out of the house too. So all of a sudden we'll find like there'll be a little envelope in the mailbox. And they're like going, it has been sanitized for your safety, type of thing. So they put it in the glove box, or they put it in the mailbox with gloves, in their mask. And then they wipe off the mailbox handle. It's like, wow. That's really
fascinating, the new norm that we're looking at, and never mind just the social changes that are going to happen, but certainly you were mentioning before the economic changes, but certainly there's going to be a different way of communication. We have many friends that are out posting and that I've spoken to that said, I miss going to live events, everything from speakers and presenters to people that would just support the events, to people that go to the events just to get that camaraderie, to get that friendship, because there's so many people that are missing that human connection, that human interaction. And it is a real problem. Listen, I'm one of those people that, I also love and crave connection. I'm the person that, I'm either out to dinner with someone, we have them over for dinner, or over their house for dinner. Listen, I'm fortunate that my wife's a great cook. So, I haven't really been suffering that side of things, for the last couple of weeks. And I'm a pretty good cook too, for that matter. But I'm really looking forward to going to a restaurant again.
Sure.
Just to have the experience, go to the movies,
that's the thing, right? It's the experience.
It's not, to go to the movies. I mean, we watch plenty of movies at home, but it's just, it's the experience. It's the experience of going out and so looking forward to all that. But there's a lot of people that are suffering in silence. That's why it is great that we have the platforms like this, like Facebook, like Instagram, like Twitter, like TikTok, and all the other social media platforms that we're able to communicate. Hell, even just video, text, and WhatsApp and everything. Just different ways of communicating, not just verbally, but also via video and having live interaction. So imagine what this would have been like 30 years ago.
Well,
there was someone that from one of our other trainers from our family put up, and I think it was Valeria, that she put up something that says, listen, just in to put things in perspective, and I'm going to butcher this. I wish I should have printed it out so I can read it. Imagine you were born in 1900. And by the time you were 18, there was a world war, 1912, or you're born in 1912. When was a world war? Was it 1912? No, 1920 something.
World War I?
Yeah.
1920s, right?
I think it was 1920s. Anyway, so basically it said you're in your 20s and there's a world war. Mm-hmm. And then millions of people die. And then, you come back and then there's a Great Depression. Another couple of million people die. Then there's the Spanish flu and 5 million people die across the world. Then there's World War II. Then there's Korea. Then there's Vietnam. Then there's all of this stuff. And now you're 70, you're 85, I guess you were born in 1912. Now you're 85 and you've spent your life dealing with all of these incredibly devastating things that happened in time without the advent and without the ability to communicate with people across town, never mind across state lines, across the country, across the world. Right. So we're in a different time, and we're blessed to, despite us having been going through these difficult moments, we're blessed to have the everything that we've got at our disposal. So anyway, I wish I had that in writing. It was
it's all great. I mean, but to your point, too, and I just saw Betty said hello. So, hey, Betty, it's
hello. Yeah.
I mean, it's wonderful just to see all these different folks, and thank you for being on today. It's interesting that when we start to look at this terminology of what the new normal is, and I would contest there is no such thing. Life is evolving every single day, and it's more a matter for us of getting outside of that comfort zone and constantly innovating and embracing change. Because when we do so, it really does feed our opportunities. It really does allow us to understand that there's a whole different level of metrics. Think back now. I mean, this little sucker's 11 years old, going on 12 years old. And I'm like, what you can do from this? Holy smokes. They were praying. NASA was praying for this type of tech back in the day. Right. And to go beyond, like when we start talking about social distancing, there was actually a technological restriction, because social distancing, or I'll say my personal space, was limited by the length of telephone cord that the rotary phone was connected to, because that's as far as I could go to get away from my parents or anybody else, to have privacy, to have a conversation with someone. And so it was serious when you were like pulling out the extension cord for the phone, and you're looking to see, hey, do we have a 25-foot extension so I can actually outside? You didn't care if it was freezing cold. You had a call to make. So arguably technology has brought us closer in some ways. And I would also argue too, in some ways, it's created its own artificial social distancing.
Yeah. There's
something to be said about diction and language and presentation and energy. There is a level of, and I want to be very careful in my words. So there's a level of strength that some people find because there's anonymity online. And for others, there's a level of transparency because for the first time, they've actually found a voice for themselves. And so the knife cuts both ways, and there's two sides to it. So we need to be understanding that with every new technological advancement, there's going to be mammoth upside, and also those that will use technology as a weapon. If it's bullying, berating, or having a different type of opinion, or if it's catfishing, but for some, it's like you said, my kids spent an hour and a half with my folks on FaceTime the other day, and it was beautiful because they got to connect with their grandparents, and they got to see that emotion, they got to see their face and the reaction, and it was just wonderful to see this banter back and forth. So that's a beautiful testament to technology and using it in a great way. I've seen in some ways recently too, where unfortunately, depending on, I'll say your level of maturity, but this whole thing with youth sexting, and that's become like an acceptable way of expressing their sexuality now. And it's like going, hello, that was a picture that, I didn't need to see on YouTube or TikTok or. And the crazy part now is that they're finding that they can actually use gaming platforms where there's a social media component to them. You go, oh, they can communicate offline and this, that, and the other. It's like going, they're doing a whole lot more than comparing Fortnite scores. Just saying. It was more than about doing the floss. The floss is a whole different thing than a dance for some of these people. So it's really a little scary at times. And this is where I really do believe that morals and ethics and family values and sharing that information openly with your children and with loved ones is more important than ever before.
Well, communication now is more important than ever before, not just with communicating those ideas and those ideals and those values and those principles, but also of communicating, with each other. Because, I was speaking to a friend of mine today, again, a different friend, that was telling me how her son is, he's a great kid, but he's driving her batshit crazy.
Right.
Her daughter's older, so she's kind of doing her thing, even though she's missing some homework and this and that, but she's pretty self-sufficient. But her son is 9, and she's like, I'm back in school with him. I'm there with him for hours, and then he tells me no, how I don't know, and this is the right answer, and and he's getting
new math.
Well, listen, the new math, to be honest with you, if I said, no, that's the way to do it, I'd be like, all right, cool, because I got the answer. I just didn't know how the hell to do it. What do they call that? That crap. Oh, no, that's a test. Whatever that new type of math is, whatever.
It's interesting because there's a whole lot of metrics around uncertainty right now. And for young minds, and I will say even for cultivated minds, that's what's actually been really foreboding and scary. I know you and I, through business and different things, we've been talking to business owners, and arguably, in fact, this came up today. One of the things that they're finding very awkward and almost detrimental to the decision-making process is that the CEO, CFO, COO, CIO, CTO, and the head accountant and head of legal, those top 5 or 6, 5 to 7 people are making decisions for the entire organization. They said, well, aren't they supposed to? I said, well, in many instances, there's a board of directors. But what we're finding is that the people that have direct charges or responsibility, they're not being told squat. They're like, oh, well, we might have to furlough some people. Okay, there's a very specific word. You didn't say, oh, this was in the works. This was planned for it. This is going to happen. Here's the scheduling. And so there's been a lot of hiccups. There's been a lot of nuances where even at the very top of these organizations, they don't know what they don't know. We've had 12 years, Tony, of a bull market, and now all of a sudden we're in a bear market, and the Fed's printing money faster than the printing press is going to run at. So,
but I don't know why any economic market only goes 10 to 13 years. So we're at the end of the market anyway. This was just an inconvenience that came at this time. I think it was. I understand that there's a need. Sure. I understand that there's a need. So listen, I'm suffering like everybody else is, but I understand that there's a need. But I think that there's going to be the negative impact of printing $3.5 trillion plus another God knows how much they're printing. The negative impact of that is going to be felt for decades to come.
Yeah,
maybe a little much, but for years to come for sure. And I think that was, I don't know. I understand that there was a need.
Japan. I'm from Japan originally, and the quantitative easing that they put in years ago when they had a technology bust there, it has not gone away. And in fact, you have negative inflation. So that means if you want to put money in a bank account in Japan, they charge you for it. They're not paying you for you to have money in the bank. You pay them for the security of having your money secured. And it's like going, my tatami mat's looking pretty good right about now. Quite full, quite robust. And so people go, come on. Hey, oil is trading at $11 a barrel. Futures on oil were at minus $35 a barrel. So today, with just storage costs and processing, that's oil in the ground or oil in a barrel or storage facility someplace, it's $11 a barrel. But what that really means in real money, it's worth about zero. So, let's think about that. Gasoline was $3 to $4 a gallon.
$1.70 today when I filled up.
Dude, I was like going, am I back in college? Like this is some crazy optics that we're looking at.
Looking around, is there a tanker truck I can purchase just to store gas? Because pretty soon you will buy it at $1 a gallon.
Yeah, but for a N95 mask, you'll pay $25. So it's like what we place value on. Neoprene gloves never had so much value as they do now. And so to your point, the new normal, if we want to call that the N squared, I would contest that. Let's adopt an ideology first of gratitude, and that is you've been blessed. You saw, if you got up early enough, the sunrise. Your eyes open, you drew breath, you yawned, you stretched. If you were JM3, you had a big glass of water next to your bed. And like me, same thing. Hydrate, get up and express some gratitude because you've been gifted another day. And the beautiful part is, listen, life is changing constantly, and I really do subscribe, and I know it sounds cliche, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. It's happening for us and not to us. And in those opportunities and in those moments of loving grace and gratitude, I'm so blessed to have brothers like you in my life, to have people that I love and adore and care about, I respect immensely. And I've come to realize something through all this too, brother, and that is, and you've known this for many years as well. In the past, it used to bother me if someone thought poorly of me. And I have a very new concept about that now. And that concept is very simple. They dislike me because they don't know me. Because if they knew me and they knew my intent and my motive, we wouldn't have an issue. They may not like me, but they would respect me. And so that's the difference right now, is that when we, Deborah, yeah, I remember the long cord too. But it's interesting because I look at now everything that's coming up with artificial intelligence, with, these factoring in quotients, deep blue, high quantum computing, the things that we're going to have exposure to in the next, by the end of 2020, going into 2021, are going to be life altering. They pretty much all but map the human genome at this point.
Well, listen, Peter Diamandis says, don't F up for the next 10 years and then you'll be fine. Don't do anything for the next 10 years.
Don't dive anything stupid, is what he said specifically. Right. He's like, skydiving? Really? Okay. It's like, okay, thrill seeker. But he goes, don't dive anything stupid, because the truth is that, and here's the difference. And I look at JM3, Joseph McClendon III is, I'll just put it out there. He doesn't know this necessarily, but he is an unspoken mentor of mine in so many ways. I admire him immensely. His level of health and vitality, not only just his physical health and vitality, his emotional and spiritual, wealth and ideology that he actually lives and emotes and spreads to everybody else. What's so cool though is that he has simplified things, and that's what creates sustainability. What we notice in business and in life, that complexity, absolutely kills execution. And that guy executes like nobody's business, and he has unbelievably high standards, which I love and adore, because that's the way we've chosen to live our lives as well. That's one of the reasons why we created YBL in the first place. We said, if we're gonna have a company name, is it just, live life? No, it's like live your best life. So it's your best life, because if you're gonna live your best life, not just any life.
That's right.
And people go, I'm sorry?
Mediocrity sucks.
Hey, you know what? But isn't it crazy that in a lot of arenas, that's become the baseline standard? It's like, you'll ask someone, how are you? How you feeling? They go, I'm all right. I'm getting by. I'm good. I was like, and I even found myself at one point in time, someone asked me, they go, how are you? And I said, I'm really good. I go, screw that. I'm actually really great. Is everything perfect? Well, what's perfection? Lowest form of being? I said, you know what? I'm grateful. There are options and opportunity in every single moment of the day. In fact, what I've had to train my mind to do is to kind of filter out some of the stuff that's extraneous, that isn't serving me in the moment. Otherwise, I go friggin' nuts, because literally stuff is flying at you now at just like light speed. You feel like you're in the Matrix, like you're just trying to dodge certain things. Open your mouth every now and then so you catch an almond or something. But it's like, there's things and stuff that are going on. And really what I'm finding is that there's so much prosperity all around us in so many different ways. And to get to it though, you kind of have to slow your roll. Try to remember who said this. It may have been Mr. Robbins who said this, but when you're on a roll, it's real easy to get momentum. But there's a fine line between momentum and being out of control, like having so much speed and so much push through momentum and inertia and drive that kinetically you're like going, oh, I'm coming up on a turn, coming up on a turn. Well, what do? You brake before the turn. You don't brake when you're in the turn. Otherwise,
Right.
you're going to go straight and you're going to go where your focus is, where your eyes are. And it's like, ooh, okay. So really good lesson to remember is that sometimes when we're in the straightaway and we're hauling ass, is when we get to the end of it, we need to fade down for a minute, slow down, take appreciation, have some gratitude. Not look behind you, but look at what's coming up ahead. Is it a chicane? Yeah. Are there curves? Is there a big bank? Is there a hill? Do I need to speed up and get more momentum so I can actually make it up the hill? Do I need to slow down because I'm actually going downhill at a very steep, pitch, at a deep slope, and I need to go ahead and back off a little bit? It's about optics, and it's not about reading the future, because it's the actions that you take right now and where your focus goes that's going to determine how you enter into a turn, how you enter into the next life condition, how you enter into the next opportunity.
On the reality, what you're saying is great. You've got to have that foresight, right? You've got to look not just at what's in front of you, but you got to look 2 or 3 steps ahead. But most people look at what's immediately in front of them, and they're looking behind, right? They're too busy looking back to catch more than just what's immediately in front of them, right? And then that's why you can't see that turn, because you're too busy looking behind you. And that's what I've been saying for the last couple of days is stop looking back. You're not that way. Keep focused on these things.
When people are walking around and it's so they're, I mean, and now it's not just their focus that's going away. They're actually having physiological responses to these things. The strain in their eyes, they're actually fighting with people's necks because their heads are down so often. They're not walking with their phones up like this, where they can actually see the ground. They're actually walking slightly down. So people are walking into stuff. They're walking into telephone poles. They're walking into,
I love watching those reels. People falling into fountains and tripping into basements. I mean, that's terrible because those people are getting hurt, especially the ones falling into basements. Of open sidewalks and things of that nature. But for God's sakes, pay attention to what's coming in front of you, because not just where you're at right now, but what's coming in front of you. People say all the time, that person's lucky. Well, no, you've got to be attent and aware and pay attention to the opportunity that may lie ahead. So if you want to grab that opportunity, you see it, and it's 4 or 5. It's like you've ridden a motorcycle, right? Correct?
Oh yeah, I love bikes.
Yeah, me too. Even though, you know what, tomorrow I'm going to take my bike out because I got to pull the battery out. But anyway, enough about that. But like when you're riding a motorcycle, when you're driving a car, if you're just driving normal, you're driving and you're looking at the cars that are next to you, the car that's in front of you, maybe a car that's in front of that. But when you're riding a motorcycle, unless you're driving really fast, right? If you're driving really fast, you're spacing, you're seeing 4 or 5 cars ahead where you can weave in and out, whatever. I'm not saying I do that a lot. But when you're riding a motorcycle, don't dive anything stupid.
Exactly.
When you're riding a motorcycle, it's very different. You have to be attention to at least 3 cars ahead, because if that guy in front slams on the brakes, you've got to be reactive and know that the next 2 cars are going to put on the brakes, because guess what? Your bumper ain't going to stop you. No. Right. So I'm never more aware of my immediate surroundings when I'm on the road than when I'm on my bike, because you have to have almost a peripheral, 360. Peripheral isn't enough. You've got to go all the way across, almost have a 360-degree view. And life is the same way. Take the blinders off. First of all, be aware of your surroundings. Look at things as they are. Not better than they are, not worse than they are. Take off the rose-colored glasses. Take off the blinders, because those are for asses, literally, right? A donkey for asses, right? So take off the blinders, take off the rose-colored glasses, and look at things as they are and anticipate what's coming. Listen, we know that, the country's starting to open up now. Anticipate, where do I need to be in 4 weeks so I can take advantage of the opportunity? Ethically profit from what's coming, because there's people profiting left and right. And you can profit through this by whether, Deborah here is saying that I think it was Deborah, I'm sorry, it was further up on the stream, but somebody, she winds up coaching somebody, training somebody, mentoring somebody's kids now, someone she had scored with in the past, but she's doing that. So you can certainly right now, my God, to tutor kids. Are you kidding me? That's probably the biggest business right now, especially after having this conversation with a friend of mine today. Oh my God, if you're a tutor that's able to control a kid and do what you got to do to get them from A to B, you're golden. That's a whole on its own.
That's probably going to be Cole's summer job, quite frankly, is he's a whiz at math and academics. And he goes, I'm going to go online and you can make 15, 20, 30 bucks an hour tutoring. But you have to have patience. Like you were saying, you have to have some optics and you have to have some self-discipline as well, because who's keeping the schedule? Well, you are. So, but you brought up a great point, buddy. And I just want to expound on that for a second. And that is when we start to look at where people are placing themselves, you got to know where you're at now. You have to, like you said, you can't see it worse than it is or better than it is. You got to see it for what it is. And arguably something that keeps coming up in conversation, and it's a little bit, well, it's beyond a little sobering. So I'm just going to put it out there. If you are experiencing depression, if you are experiencing some sadness or aggravation or frustration at a level that is becoming intolerable to you, please reach out. Please reach out to someone. If you're part of the TR crew, reach out to a crew member. If you are, if you need help, there are hotlines that, and I'm not saying that needs to get to the point of, considering you're taking your own life. I'm saying if you are feeling disempowered, deal with the monster while it's little.
Right.
And do not leave anything in the world of the unspoken. Please. It's not worth it. It is the biggest gift that we have is the life and the opportunities that we've been blessed with. Irregardless of circumstance, if you're above ground drawing breath, you matter. And if you've already transitioned, you're not worried about anything anyway, because you're living in nirvana. So here's the beautiful part. If you're looking for opportunities, and not just, oftentimes we're like going, are you aligned in business? Are you aligned for that prosperity? I said, are you aligned with your own health and vitality? Are you aligned with your own spirituality? Are you aligned with your emotional fitness? Because oftentimes people will work out their body and they are emotionally distraught. And we have an opportunity right now while you have this time. And if you're a first responder, and many of you are, and you're busting tail, and thank you for serving. If you are in an absolutely necessary industry right now, and you are out and working in the supermarkets and stocking shelves and I mean, God bless you, seriously, because it's a calling. And I know for some people it's a paycheck. And what I will go on record as saying is that you're a necessity. And you're to be applauded. In as much as any doctor or any nurse or any fireman or police officer, anyone who's in service, an EMT, ambulance driver, anyone. Because imagine all the people that are working in, convalescent homes right now, senior care. I can't even imagine. I mean, God bless my parents aren't in that situation. I hope they never are. But it is interesting to see. And that is a calling. That is an absolute calling to care for another human being, especially in the twilight of their lives. And to give them security, to give them understanding, to give them some optics and metrics. Because arguably, we could argue the fact that it's difficult or challenging for some people to find a silver lining or some optimism or some joy or some happiness or a smile. If you find yourself feeling challenged, play some music. Turn something on that just moves your soul. Emotion creates emotion. Allow yourself, if you can't, you must. So if you're freaked out by TikTok, do a TikTok dance. Just do it. You want to get a response from people? Get your grandparents to do it. That's something. That is something.
It's funny that you're bringing that up. So I had Joseph McClendon on, our mentor, a couple of days ago, and he did something that I'd never. He was talking about the power of music and being able to the emotion that it can bring and how it can change you. And one of the things that he did, which I thought was freaking amazing, he pulled out one of his bass guitars and he started strumming. It says, Tony, you know how they used to tune the guitars back, in the day when they didn't have auto tuners, they didn't have this, they didn't have that. And he started like playing them off key, the two of them together, and the vibration that it caused, it's like almost like a feedback just from the chords clashing. I thought was amazing. I thought was absolutely amazing. So if you haven't watched that episode, go back and watch the episode. I forget what it was. I think that was last Thursday or Friday. It was Thursday or Friday. It was amazing. It was amazing. Awesome. About music and the power of music and being able to use that to really move your soul. I mean, we all have songs that we listen to a song and we just feel that deep emotion, or it takes us back to when we were kids, or we play that that hard music, or that heavy, like a heavier music, and it gets your blood pumping, or you play that meditation music and it just kind of calms you down, or that almost, we're going to call it spiritual music. Right? Not to say religious, but some of those, or you play Christmas carols. When you play, you feel completely different, right?
Oh, so it's crazy. It's crazy. I actually found this DJ online on Instagram called DJ Shale, and she's like an old school DJ. I mean, it's like all 80s, 90s, and 2000s, like dance music stuff, and she just blends and mixes. And man, I can't help but shake my butt. It's all about the attitude at that point. I'm channeling my inner Joseph like crazy at that moment. And
Joseph's all over this one.
Oh, dude, I mean, it's just, but that's the cool part, is that it actually conjures up emotions and feelings. I think I shared this with you, Tony. So like my dad, he's going to turn 80 this year, and love the man to pieces. He's my mentor, my icon. I love the guy. And I have both my parents, which is beautiful. My dad has always been musically inclined. And so when he officially retired, he started going and playing at convalescent homes. Now, arguably, they haven't been able to do that, but he's part of this, more than a quartet. There's actually a sextet, or there's 7 of them, I think, in total now. They have a bass player, the drum. No, I mean, he plays harmonica.
What kind of nursing home are they in, or what kind of senior home are they in? Because what you just said, what'd you say, the sextet? Because that's a whole. You're talking about the six. My bad. All right.
They call it an active senior living environment. So high on independence, by the way. So no, it's interesting though. So he'll go play a gig, and I asked him, I said, well, you don't charge much money. Your group doesn't charge much money to do this. He goes, that's not why we're doing it. And I'm like, well, explain this to me. Because, I mean, I know what you've spent. Mom's told me what you've spent in equipment and harmonicas and amplifiers and speakers and mics and all this stuff. And he goes, yeah. He goes, that's some really dope stuff. I'm like, really? You got some dope equipment, huh? Is it PHT fat, PHAT fat too? Is it like really? So, and he started laughing. He goes, what did it for me? He said, when we did our first gig, we started playing some Sinatra, we started playing some Dean Martin, we started playing some classics. And I mean, they play everything from like Singing in the Rain to, anthems and hymns and all kinds of stuff. And they were playing some Sinatra, and there were people from an Alzheimer's wing that were there. And one of the practitioners who covers that wing was just watching the shift in people, and we're actually becoming sensory aware. And they were having memories, not flashbacks, memories, very clear, lucid conversation, not catatonic. And they came to my dad afterwards, and they go, how often can you come here? And he goes, well, we've talked to your entertainment director. We're here like once a month. They go, we need you here more often than this. He said, I have never seen these people so engaged and actually responding to their own names. And I mean, full on conversations. They go, we want to make sure that the next time you're here that we invite the family members to come.
Wow.
So they have their, I mean, I got goosebumps talking about it. And I was like, wow, that is just
choked up.
Dude, I mean, and I couldn't be more proud to watch my father in action. We were actually there visiting during a summer trip one time, and we went and watched one of his gigs. And I got to tell you, man, just to watch people, and he was so proud to introduce us. And you know, I had these elder statesmen come up to me and go, "Your pops is pretty good." He goes, "It's cool that he comes here and plays for us." He goes, "That man has a really, really wholesome soul."
Well, the fruit hasn't fallen far from the tree, dude.
You're very kind, my brother. I've had some unbelievable role models in my life, and that's really what the human condition is about. It's about how our legacy isn't just what we leave for our family. It's the impact of the blessings that we've been provided. And if it's a smile, if it's a twinkle in your eye, if it's a hug, if it's, in some instances, for some people, it's social distancing. For others, it's just reaching out and having a phone conversation or dropping them a little line or a text, you know, with an emoji. For them, that's all they needed to make their entire day. Mm-hmm. We get to choose where our energy, our focus, our intention, and you know me, brother, very well. And I have this saying, and I believe it to my core: motive matters and intention is everything.
Yeah.
I believe it. There's a lot of people who do doings, and God bless them. But I have a saying that I cultivated years ago, and I believe this to my absolute core. And you've heard it before, so here's the billionth and first time. And you can be doing your best, but never being your best. But if you are being your best, you will always do your best.
Yeah.
And it's about showing up. It's about being real. It's about sharing and caring. And for no other reason than that you contributed in life and love and in the broader scope of helping the energy of the world heal simply by being the best you that you can be.
And that happens when you're in alignment, right? And Meredith reminds me, actually, she says she'll never forget Joseph McClain III. There he is. I mean, we must have mentioned his name a dozen times on today's call. His musical harmony metaphor. So that's what he was talking about. When you hit the chords and they're in the right tune,
yes,
in the right key, they work beautifully together. But if you play one in one key and one in an opposite key, or sorry, I'm not musically inclined, so I don't have the verbiage. But when you play, let's say you're playing a jazz key and you're playing a classical key, they're not really going to jive, right? Normally they won't jive. So, or electric music to a classic, you know, they don't usually, unless it's done right, they don't jive. So he was really talking about coherence. And when you're talking about when you're being your best self, you're going to do your best. Yeah. Right. That's because you're aligned and everything's kind of in harmony and you're playing harmoniously, and your intention and your integrity and your heart and your mind is in flow. And then when you're in flow, you're doing your best. You can't do any better than what you're doing when you're in flow, and you're in flow when everything is aligned, just like the proper music being played. So thank you, Meredith, for that. And thank you, Joseph, again, for bringing that out. That really was a deep, I mean, put it this way, that's like a cut-worthy piece right there. I can probably go back and take 3 or 4. It was an amazing. So thank you, Meredith, for pointing that out again.
If you think about it too, Tony, I mean, think about all the tenets of music, that it's actually mathematical in many ways. So it actually makes sense. There's actually a cadence to it. There's a tempo, the 1 and the 3, the 2 and the 4. There's what's the part of a song that most people remember? The melody. And so think about that too, just the definition. It's like, it's melodic, it's melodious. Yeah, I mean, it's harmonic, it's in synchronicity. And so these are all attributes because there's an artistry to music. That's why they call them musical artists. You know, there is definitely a lot of, in fact, I loved it because Ed Sheeran was on a show and he said, I can play any song with 3 chords.
That's awesome.
Oh no, I mean, it was freaky. I mean, you're like listening to a song and it's 3 freaking chords and he just keeps playing them over and over and over again. And he goes, that's the science to music. He said the artistry comes in the length of the notes, the cadence, the tempo, the intensity. And so we have these, yeah, there you go. I mean, it's.
So this is a guitar I do not play My son plays the guitar, and my youngest son plays the piano. But one thing that I posted that I made in a quote that I don't know, I think I may have created. I'm not sure. I don't think I'd ever seen it anywhere before. But anybody can make noise, but not everybody can make music.
True.
Right. And that's why they call it artistry, because and listen, but you know what? Life is a masterpiece. I say this all the time, that our life is a masterpiece. It's both a work in progress. Actually, Tony Robbins says this: your life is a masterpiece. You're both a work in progress and a masterpiece at the same time. Right.
Absolutely.
And the reality of it is, that's so true. I use that all the time. And I actually, go a little deeper than that and say that everything that happens in our life is like a note of music, a key in music, or a brush stroke on your canvas, or, it's the masterpiece of your life, right? So whether you're playing the tune, or whether you're painting the painting, or whether you're writing a book, or whether you're singing a song, or whatever you're doing, your life is your masterpiece. I posted this morning's post, oddly enough, that we're talking about this morning's post was, hold on. I don't want to misquote myself. This morning's post was, you're the author of your own story.
Mm-hmm.
And there will be many chapters in your life. Don't get lost in the one you're in now.
Yep.
Right? Keep writing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful metaphor. Absolutely. I mean, and I've had some people go, well, I'm not a writer. I go, well, that's great. Are you a painter? Do you draw? They go, oh, stick figures. And I was like, going, that still tells a story though, right? Maybe you're just a sand painter. Maybe you fling mud. Maybe it comes down to one simple thing. How are you engaging you? Because arguably right now, probably one of the largest challenges that we're seeing is that there is a tremendous level of aggravation and frustration that's showing up in people, and is due to a ton of self-judgment. A ton. The blame game. And they're not even blaming other people. They're blaming themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, we should have been in a better financial position. Oh, we should have, had more money in the bank. Or, oh, I should have taken care of my health a little better. I'm at risk. I have heart disease. Or, well, okay. Just because that was someone else's prognosis doesn't mean that has to be your future.
Yeah, here's the good news. If you didn't die, hopefully you didn't die. And if you're watching this, well, congratulations, you're not dead.
Exactly.
You can change that. You can make the shift now to correct whatever. You can put yourself in the financial situation that you can have a little bit more money. You can have enough toilet paper in your house. You can, no, but seriously, you can maybe have a month worth of stores if you can afford to do that. Obviously, I know that there's people out there that unfortunately are not in that financial situation, but you can change that too. If your health is suffering, you can make shifts. You may not be able to become the 20-year-old version of yourself, but you can certainly become the equivalent of the 20-year-old version that you can be right now. Right?
Absolutely.
So you can make that change. The only time you can't make the change is, well, when you're not here anymore, then it doesn't matter.
And it's easier than ever before. Seriously, there's so many different tools, apps, free things. It's like, holy smokes. You've had so many amazing speakers on, and Brian Bradley is one of my favorite people on this planet. What a heartfelt and just, guided soul, and his knowledge is beyond reproach. Again, Joseph's another one. There's so many. It goes beyond measure, but I want to take a moment too, Tony, to thank you. You have created a forum in your Tony Talks. And I remember when we were talking about this, and you were even coming up with the name at that point of what you were going to be doing. And what's been beautiful and brilliant is that you really champion the cause of making the world a better place through communication. And I, for one, am blessed to call you a brother and a friend. You're part of my family. You're definitely part of my inner circle. You know that forever. You, Lucy, and the boys. And it's, for me, selfishly, I will say this, and I mean this from the center of my heart. You are guiding light in a world that oftentimes feels like it's stuck in the dark. And I've seen you do the opposite of dim your light. You've actually put amplifiers on it. You've made sure that you're like a freaking solar array that doesn't lose its charge. And I love you. I commend you. I adore you for the fact that you have taken so much time, energy, intention, and resources to continue to grow. And if really at this point for no other gain than to really make an impact on this world. And God bless you, brother. I mean, I fully support you, and just pray that you continue to have even more prosperity and success and happiness and love, and a little bit even more fun. If you could even afford to fit any more fun between the pig and the chickens and you know,
Bees that are stinging, you know,
bees and the dogs and life. I mean, but you know, the old McDonald had a farm, but man, you got, you know, you're like a New Jersey hillbilly. I love it. It's so cool. And you know, again, thank you, brother. Thank you for just authentically being you and living apologetically as Tony Rodriguez, and never sidestepping.
Took me a while to get there, and you know, I do damn right, I do try to live unapologetically, you know, myself 100% of the time. You know, life is too short to play small, man. You know, this is a quote. It's not my quote, but I love it. You know, because it says, you know, the world gains nothing by your playing small. You nothing. I'm getting the chills just saying that. You gain nothing by playing small, by dimming your light.
Yep.
Nobody wins. The person, except the person that's trying to keep you down. And to them, don't give up. Don't give in. That's why, you know, at one point I considered not being here anymore. Right? At one point I considered not being here anymore when I was 16. And you know what? I decided then that I'm not going to give anything or anyone the satisfaction of my demise.
Exactly.
I'm going to challenge every one of you, and I know you live the same way, but I challenge everyone that's watching here. Don't dim your light. Don't give anyone the satisfaction of your demise. Don't play small. It serves no one. It serves no one. So start living unapologetically. Start living the real you. Be who you are. Unless you're an ass, then be someone else. But outside of that, you know, outside of that, listen, be you. And at the end of the day, look, and you know, I say that jokingly, but if you're an ass, then, you know, be an ass. You'll attract other ones, and then you guys can all hang out and be assholes together, right?
You know, I mean, there's all different types of communities, right? Yeah.
Listen, all the more reason to be you, because as the saying goes, your vibe attracts your tribe. So don't pretend to be something you're not, because you're going to attract the wrong people into your life. And God knows I've done that. We've all done that.
Listen,
but when you start living unapologetically, when you start living true to yourself, right? And to not overuse the word, but when you start living authentically to who you are at your core, then it starts to become different. Then it starts to be, you know, you start to shine a different way, and you start attracting different things into your life, and you stop giving a shit about other people's opinions, because other people's opinions are none of your business. So start living your best life and let go of all that other bullshit, because you know what? And here I go. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to quote Dr. Seuss. Those who mind don't matter.
Yep.
And those who matter don't mind.
Yep. Hey, listen, it's interesting to me, and I had to learn this lesson the hard way. And I mean, damn, because I was stubborn. We can be our own worst enemy. And when we feel less than, and we feel that we're not being truly authentically ourselves, energy does not flow to you. You are wired with a flight or fight mechanism. And so you need to understand for yourself that freedom comes from being raw and real, not from being calculated, not from, you know, social graces and trying to be cordial to everyone else, not by being externally framed where everyone else's adulation of you. Like you said, opinions are like posteriors. Everyone's got one, and some are prettier than others, and some are way smellier than others. And at the end of the day, you need to compensate for yourself, which is be raw and real. Because the biggest lies that are ever told are the ones you tell yourself. Yeah. That's not BS. Sorry.
That's right.
A belief system. But it can be. And it's that too. And so, but ultimately, we are so harsh to ourselves because we have these aspirations. And for many people, it's very interesting what passes as a role model in today's day and age. because they have more likes on Instagram, or their Twitter feed is blown up, or, Becky, look at her butt. It's remarkable where people are finding that inspiration, or I'll even put it a different way, where they're finding their social beacons from.
Which is amazing. Bullshit. Most people, they have, but what do they have really? If you think about, look at people like Mike Tyson, perfect examples, right? The Mike Tysons, the 50 Cent, these guys are out there, they're having a great time and they're loving it, and everybody loves them, and everybody's their friend. And dare I say, the guy who's running things now, everybody's their friend. Oh, that's a different story. But we'll use Mike Tyson as an example, or he's a perfect example. He made millions of dollars, like $500 million,
hundreds of millions, yeah,
right. And then he lost everything. And who did he have left next to him? Nobody, because he didn't have any real friends, because he was not being who he truly was. Now he's actually a motivational speaker. Do you know that? He's out on the circuit, and he's actually pretty good.
Oh, he's amazing. He's
more,
and Tony's,
because now he's being himself. He's being true to him, being unapologetically him, and he's not trying to impress other people. I love this line as well. We're so busy buying shit we don't need to impress people we don't like.
Right.
And that's not being authentically you. That's not being original. That's not your superpower. Is your originality. There is only one of you. There is no copy. Even if you have a twin, even if you have triplets, they're all different. No one's the same. Our fingerprints are all different. Your superpower is your uniqueness. Stop trying to fit in when you were meant to stand out. Step up.
Isn't it interesting though? No, it's interesting though, because I was having this conversation with my kids some years ago, and we were talking about what it means to be unique. I said, be you. They're like, oh, but this person's this way, and I admire that they have this personality. And I was like, that's great. And they're not you. You're you. Yet, isn't it interesting that people will look from, I'll say, a behavioral standpoint at other people for inspiration and aspiration, and go, oh, if I could only be a little bit more like them. Well, why don't you even be a little bit more of you? Because at the end of the day, you're not broken. No one's to blame. You're perfect just the way you are in so many different ways. The only time that you lack perfection is when you are trying to be like someone else. And that's unattainable. You can be a facsimile, you can be a copy, but they don't have your genetic code. They don't have your disposition. They don't have your heart. They don't have your integrity, your heartbeat. They don't have your hair follicles. They don't have your eye color. And if you want to be unique, be you. So many people are trying to take the hard way out instead of the easy way in.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
It's like, oh, well, let me be like someone else. That's the hard way out. You're comparing against everything and everyone except you. And they go, okay, so Chuck, come on, man. You talk a good game, but what does it really mean to be me? And I said, well, let's ask a more deep question then. How do you want to feel most often? Like, well, what does that have to, you asked? I'm giving it to you. How do you want to feel most often? And it's very, very simple. You are what you feel. Hear me clearly. If you have a need, not a want, if you have this desire to be happy, fulfilled, to feel joy in your life, then I'm going to ask you another simple question that your 3-year-old could answer. What has to happen in order for you to feel happy or joyous or fulfilled? Well, I need to be able to play with a puppy. Okay, great. I need to be able to see my toes in the morning. Outstanding. I like sunrises. I enjoy sunsets. If you're a Harlequin romance, I like walks on the beach.
Hey,
great.
I don't have to like Harlequin romances. I like walks on the beach.
And I know you like Harlequin romances too. So it's interesting though, because what starts to happen is we start to find all these different ways for us to feel this way. And here's the cool part. If you ask the simple question, why? Because at the core of you, there is an answer. It's because that's who I am. That's when I feel my best. That's when I feel connected to everything around me. That's not woo-woo. That is scientific. You can feel energetic flow. We've all felt it. Someone walks in a room and everyone's head's turned. You're like, oh, who was that? Wasn't because of their physical appearance. It's because their presence, their energy, what they're putting out, the confidence. That's where you find the attraction to another human being. That's one of the reasons why, like Tony, you were talking about at the very beginning of this, going to events. Why? Because we're not just around minded people, we're around like-hearted people.
Yes.
Like-minded, you have similar interests. Like-hearted, you have similar feelings. You have similar needs relative to being able to get people together. And then when you're sharing in that energy in that space, you resonate at a level that you didn't even have to say a word. You can feel it. You can feel that connectivity.
Yeah.
Where you tell someone else, and in that moment, you're just like, gotcha. Thank you, my brother. Thank you, my sister. Much love. It's we get to choose. We get to choose. And right now, more than ever before, you as leaders, and if you're sharing on this, this session with us today, and you're on Tony Talks, you're compelled. You are here for a reason, a season, a purpose, for a moment, or for the entire time. Here's the best part. It doesn't make a difference. This guy, you, that guy there, you, hey, you're good, you. And what's great is that he's not just great, he's a beautiful human being. And that's why people keep coming back. It's not just for the messages, it's because you get to fill up a little. You get to see that there's hope. You get to see that there's opportunity. You get to see that there's people living life at a level that they're excited and exuberant, and they desire so much more. So if you're really trying to figure out where you're living right now, ask yourself these three simple questions. How do you want to feel most often? And take a moment, breathe in that heart space, get in that beautiful soul, write them down. Then ask yourself this question as well. What do you need in your life right now? What's an absolute must for you? What do you need? And there's, for some comparison and contrast, what do you want? And I'm going to argue this point, and I'll get off the podium real quick here. Many people are living to fulfill their wants, and they've ignored what they need. You need love and connection. I actually believe out of the 6 human needs, that's one of the most powerful. But people go, okay, what do I really need? I said, well, you need food, you need water, you need shelter, right? And I go, you know what, the number 4, and you need air. That's a good one.
Yeah, necessary, essential.
Yep. But number 5 that rounds out the entire organization, you need love and connection. And if it's not just to other people, but it's to yourself. There needs to be a healthy level of appreciation and understanding as that you have value. And that the currency that you barter with and everything in life isn't just monetary. Time, intention, energy, heart, connection, those are just as important. It all depends on you and who you are and what's most important to you. Because at the end of the day, I have my needs. My wife has hers. Our kids have theirs. Even our dogs. All of our friends and family. And the commonality is that when we have that love and respect, even Kitty. And so that's the beautiful part, though, is that ultimately it really comes down to, do you really know you? And have you actually taken enough time to give yourself the appreciation and love that you deserve?
Yeah, it's an important one.
Yeah. Because I love when Joseph says, pat yourself on the back and say, I freaking rock. And people go, yeah, that seems so silly. I was like, no, it's beautiful. Because when you're a kid, you acknowledge that. You rock. Somewhere along the line, as adults, we start to develop this emotional plaque, and it becomes slathered onto us. And it's like, you need an emotional enema. You need to cleanse. You need to have an emotional hygienic interaction with self.
Yeah.
If that wash, rinse, do you need to do, boo-boo. You do you, and make sure that you're feeding yourself at a level that's going to be sustainable, because anything's short-term attainable. And we've heard this saying, fake it till you make it. I'm like going, you know what? Okay, but I'll be truthful, at least from my hallucination of the world, my perspective, it's baloney. And here's why. I'd rather take a moment as me than try to fake it as somebody else.
Yeah, I love it.
Because to have that moment of freedom, that grace, that space, ooh, man, you get a taste of it, you won't want to go back.
Yeah, I love it, dude. I love it. Well, listen, to be respectful of everyone's time, we're already about an hour and 15 minutes in. I do want to listen. If you guys love this talk, if you guys love the banter between Chuck and I'm going to make. I don't usually pitch anything here. I am, however, going to say that if you want to coach, to be coached, and to be you have Chuck as your life or business strategist, you can go to YBLSnow.com. YBLSnow.com. The cool thing is, you can also find me on that page, because YBLS is, I'm a co-founder with Chuck and Darren as well. So it's a company that we have together. It is a life and business strategist for high performance and getting you and your business, your relationship, whatever it is, to the next level. So I'm just going to put it in here. YBLS Now.
Thank you for the shameless plug, brother. No, it's interesting, because there was a time in my life when I really didn't believe that I needed a strategist in my life. And I love this. And this was actually a gift from Joseph. When we started doing our mentors and masterminds in our group, we wanted to develop a community where people could come together and just share and really find a tribe, find their peer group. And it ended up becoming so much more, because Joseph said something that really resonated with me. And it's one of the reasons why we actually call it mentors and masterminds. There's a lot of different groups out there, and they're all beautiful and brilliant. There's no one's wrong, no one's to blame, none of that. We're not saying that at all. But it was really interesting, because Joseph postured a question, and it hit me like right in my head and my heart simultaneously. And he said, are these people living the principles that they're espousing? Number one, are they truly leaders and mentors? Because there's a difference between people that are just facilitating, and then those that are actually searching and sharing and guiding, but not from a place of ego, literally by asking better questions and postulating different perspective and optics and even different answers. And what's beautiful about that is that we applaud every single person's perspective. No one's right or wrong. And you need context. You need variety in order to
contrast, you need perspective, you need all of it. Listen, if you're only painting with 2 or 3 colors, you can do pretty well. Tony Robbins talks about Steve Wynn's Rothko painting with, a little bit of red paint and a little bit of yellow square. But for the most part, to create a beautiful work of art, you need many colors, which means many experiences, which means pain, pleasure, happiness, joy, sadness, excitement, anger, whatever, the whole full spectrum of color. Right. Yep. And then with those colors, you mix them up and you get new emotions, you get new colors. And that's what makes up the tapestry of our lives, the masterpiece of our lives. So collectively, when we come together in this mastermind, it looks like Chuck froze. At least, Chuck, you didn't freeze with your mouth open. You're showing us your pearly whites. So we're going to make this offer to you guys. We actually have a paid mastermind that we meet twice a month, and they're in 3-month blocks. But for the next 4 to 6 weeks, we are going to offer another version of that, which is a free mastermind. So if you go to YBLSnow.com, you can register for the free mastermind. We meet every other Sunday at 4 p.m. for an hour. 4 p.m. for an hour is going to be the free mastermind. And then on the opposite Sundays, or the Sundays in between, we have our regular mastermind that is 90 minutes with a smaller group of people as well. You're more than welcome to join that way, that one. And you'll also find the information at YBLSnow.com. Listen, and with all the love and respect, Chuck, any last words?
Hey, thank you, Tony, for this time and always for the interaction. I love you, brother. Thank you all for joining us today. And it's been an absolute pleasure to just share a little of, I'll say, life perspective from just a different point of view.
Absolutely. Listen, you know what? I love you. I respect you. As you know, I mean, you're kind of stuck with me, as the saying goes. Now you can't leave. Uh,
I'm grateful. I'm grateful.
but yeah, listen, so I just welcome everybody to jump on that. And certainly you can certainly reach out to Chuck on the website as well for one-on-one coaching, group coaching, strategizing. Actually, we call it strategy. We're strategists, not coaches, it's kind of the same but different. You know, and we're all seasoned in many aspects of business and life, as the saying goes. And certainly you can reach me as well. I'm also a certified high performance life and business strategist. And for now, we'd be happy to have you join our free mastermind and then step you up to the paid mastermind if you like, where we also have a lot of the guests that you've seen on this show. We're going to cycle them through both the paid and the free mastermind. So invite you guys to go check it out, YBLSnow.com. That's YBLSnow.com. Also, if you found and got value from this video, by all means, tag your friends and family, share this video, go onto YouTube and share it out. It is a lot longer. We're at 80 minutes now, which is crazy. They don't usually go this long, but I do appreciate you, brother. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And as always, thank you for sharing your heart. Don't go away. And for those of you watching, I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for spending some time with us. I know that time is our most valuable asset. For once it is gone, you cannot get it back. So thank you for that. Thank you for your trust and for your support. And remember, my friends, that life is not about how many times you fall. It's about getting up after every fall. You fall down 7 times, you get up 8, and every single time you fall, you have the opportunity to get up and grow we must. And don't forget to reach down and help somebody else up as well. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow, by the way, we have Nick Santonasos. We have Nick on tomorrow. So join us tomorrow. I'll be putting the post up later tonight. So join us tomorrow, 6 o'clock Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Appreciate each and every one of you. Ciao for now.
Take care.